Hey everyone, welcome! So today we're going to dive into what looks like a super simple GitHub project, just a to-do app. But trust me, hidden inside this thing is a really powerful lesson about planning, about ambition, and about building software the right way. So yeah, let's get right into it.
I mean, we've all made a to-do list at some point, right? And if you're a developer, building one it's basically a rite of passage, you know? It's that perfect little project you tackle when you're learning a new language or a framework. It's simple, it's super practical, and it just gets you coding right away. And that's exactly where our story kicks off. Okay, so let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What are the actual nuts and bolts of this thing? I'm talking about this specific command line to-do app. What can you, the user, actually do with it?
All right, so it's got all the standard features you'd pretty much expect. You can add new tasks, list them out, mark them as complete. You can even update the titles or just delete tasks altogether. It's all built in Python, and this part's important, it has 0 external dependencies. Everything is stored right in memory. Which means, yeah, when you close the app, poof, everything's gone. It's just a really clean, self-contained little program. And actually using it, just as simple. You just pop open your terminal, right? And you type in your commands, like add, walk the dog. Want to see what's on your list? Just type list. Need to check something off? You just use its ID, something like complete one. Super fast, really efficient, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. No fuss.
So, all in all, a classic, well-made beginner project. Simple, right? But here's where it gets really interesting. Because if that's all this was, well, we probably wouldn't be doing an entire explainer on it. The real story, the part that's actually fascinating, is hiding just beneath the surface. And it all starts with what this thing is called. Okay, so let's pull back the curtain a little bit and see what the creator actually named this project. Because this is where our simple little story takes let's just say, a very ambitious turn. Just take a look at that. The evolution of to-do, Mastering-Spec-Driven-Development, cloud-native AI. Wow. Okay, that's a mouthful. I mean, we've got evolution, we've got mastering, cloud-native, and they even threw AI in there. That is a huge title for the simple little command line app we just looked at, right? And that right there, that brings us to the main question we're trying to answer today. Why? Why would you give such a humble, simple application such a monumental name? Is it just a joke, or is there something much deeper going on here? You know, that's the mystery we've got to solve.
So, to find the answer, we can't just look at what the app does on the surface. Nope, we have to look at how it's actually built. It's time to pop the hood and really dig into the project structure, see if we can find some clues.
So when we look at the files, a couple of them are pretty standard. You've got todo.py, which, okay, that's the app itself. You've got .gitignore, a standard file for any Git project. But then you see this last one, a folder called specs/. Now, if you're not familiar, spec is just short for specification. It's basically a super detailed description of how something is supposed to work. And this folder, my friends, is our smoking gun. It's the big clue.
This specs folder is absolutely the key. You can think of it like an architect's blueprint for a massive skyscraper. The little to-do app we see, that's not the skyscraper. That's just a perfectly laid foundation. The specs folder contains the entire plan, the detailed outline for the whole epic story that's yet to be built.
And aha, this brings it all together. This is a perfect illustration of that concept right there in the project's crazy title, Spec-Driven Development. So what is that? Well, it's a way of building things where you don't just jump in and start coding. No, first you stop and you create a really detailed, written plan, the spec, that lays out exactly what the software is going to do and how you're going to build it.
And when you look inside that specs/folder, it's like a treasure trove of planning. You've got spec.md, which defines what the features are. This forces you to get crystal clear on the end goal. Then there's plan.md, which outlines how you're actually going to implement them. That's your technical roadmap. And finally, tasks.md breaks the whole shebang down into concrete bite-sized steps. So you see, this isn't just a to-do list anymore. It's a full-on masterclass in professional-level planning.
Okay, so now we can finally connect all the dots, right? We have the insanely ambitious name, we have the super simple app, and now we have this incredibly detailed blueprint. So let's put it all together and figure out what this project's true purpose really is. Here's the big reveal. The to-do app, it isn't the final product. It's not even the main event. It's just step one. It's the tangible working proof that the plan, the whole blueprint inside the specs/folder,
actually works. It's the first successful thing to come out of a much, much larger and more disciplined way of building software.
Think about it. There are kind of two ways to build things, right? There's the code-first approach, where a lot of us just dive in and start coding, figuring things out as we go. But then there's this spec-first approach. It forces you to actually stop and think, to plan and define your goals before you write a single line of code. Yeah, it might feel a little slower right at the beginning, but what you're doing is building this incredibly solid foundation, and that makes it so much easier to scale up and change things later on. It saves you from some massive headaches down the road, believe me.
So here's the bottom line, the most crucial point of all this. What we've really been looking at is a masterclass disguised as a simple little toy project. This whole thing isn't really about managing tasks on a to-do list. It's a demonstration of how to manage complexity. It's a public lesson in how you take a huge, scary idea, like cloud-native AI, and you start with one small, totally manageable, and perfectly planned first step.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. It doesn't matter if you're coding an app, launching a business, or, hey, even just planning a home renovation project. Think about what we saw here. Before you write that first line of code, or swing that first hammer, ask yourself, what would my spec/folder look like? How could taking the time to create that detailed blueprint totally change the game for your next big thing? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me, and happy planning.